Well, thank you so much, and welcome to our Family Talk. This segment has been a part of the family celebrations nearly from the beginning, something that we've done over these last many years. And it's really an opportunity for you to ask questions of us, whether that's about the network, about Mother Angelica, about really any topic that you'd like. If it's a difficult question, Father Joseph will answer those, and as they get easier, we'll move them down this way. So that's the hierarchy of how this works. There is a microphone there in the middle aisle, and so if you'd like to step up to the mic and ask us a question, please feel free to do so at this time. We'll try to get as many questions in as we possibly can, so try to keep your questions short and make sure there's a question in there. And if you'd like to do that, and we'll just talk for a second about, I think, some of the great things that are going on at EWTN. I mean, we're all obviously involved in some way or another, some of us less than others in the on-air side of things. But, you know, certainly, Father Mark, you've had a great year with the launch or relaunch, really, of Life on the Rock, which has been terrific.
Right, we've shortened the format. It's a little shorter interview. Try to show some videos and just make it a little faster pace to it, and it makes you do the interview a little more concentrated. And I always feel like, who's going to sit down and watch an hour show now? It's kind of hard to watch an hour interview show. Not Father Mitch's show is great, but interview shows for an hour is hard to watch for people. So we're excited about it. I think it's going well.
It's great. It's great. And of course, Father Joseph, you have the Church Universal, which is now in what, its third season?
I think in maybe the seventh or
seventh
or eighth. Yes,
depends on how you define seasons. I guess.
Define season, third year probably.
Third year,
yes.
Yeah.
So we've recently aired some wonderful programs about young people and their initiatives. In fact, the Culture Project, Bishop Baker actually called me, and he really enjoyed that program, and he was going to be talking to some university students. He was going to recommend the Culture Project, and he wanted some additional information. Then we had the Young Catholic Professionals, and I think you were involved with them in Denver.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So it's great to see. What I like about the Church Universal series is to see what people like yourselves, lay people who feel called to be part of building the kingdom on this earth, they see a particular need, like this foundress of the Young Catholic Professionals. She saw that a lot of young people, they would finish college, they'd move to a new city, they'd be disconnected from their families and their parishes, they stopped practicing the faith. So she started this initiative where they have monthly meetings, they have some good teaching on the faith, but then also socialization. So it's really encouraging to see, and I've learned a lot myself in producing this series.
Right. And of course, you've got your stalwart there, Bookmark, that you've been doing for 20 plus years. Yeah, and then of course, Father Spitzer's Universe, or as one mutual friend of ours likes to say, Doug Keck tries to stump Father Spitzer.
And fails.
And never succeeds, yeah.
Yes, that's our little joke. Yeah, and it's wonderful. I mean, the Church Universal, I think the great aspect of that for our audience as well is not only to realize how much good work is happening inside the church underneath all the crazy headlines we read every day, but also it might be a way of connecting to your own personal spirituality or something that you might find an interest that you were unaware that there was an organization or a group inside the church that was actually working in that particular field or had that particular charism. And you know, we're very happy with a lot of the great programming that we've been able to bring. A movie on St. Martin de Porres is coming up. We had just done one on St. Rose of Lima. We have, I think, a really marvelous film that was shot in Italy, working with us on Mother Cabrini, who obviously, I think there's a lot of followers of her, especially in the United States. We have the second coming of the quote-unquote wolf in sheep's clothing, the Gender Agenda, which will air in February. We've got our series on the Reformation, which has been in production for 2 years. Will be airing in the spring as well. And of course, very popular Chris Stefanik, his episodes will start airing in around March as well. And we have Matthew Bunson, who's here. Peter Gagnon and his team are working on the Doctors of the Church, which are done in a style of kind of, I'd say, a History Channel kind of documentary, docudrama, which allows you to understand, like so much of what people were talking about with Father Mitch, the idea of people not knowing history. and they watch these TV shows, or they listen to somebody throw around a couple of lines about this and that are just either misleading at best or totally untrue. And our goal is really to be able to set the facts straight. And where there are blemishes, we have to own up to those. But we also need people to understand that much of what they believe to be true is in fact not true.
Right, precisely. No, and for my part, while I may not necessarily be on EWTN television all the time, on occasion, I have been traveling the world of late and then I can't count how many countries it's been, but just this year we've launched EWTN Polska, a brand new 24/7 version of EWTN in Poland. That was about 2 weeks ago. We've launched EWTN Hungary, which is based in Budapest. Again, a 24-hour-a-day version of EWTN in Hungarian. And earlier in the year, in the summer, we launched EWTN Nordic, which is actually EWTN, a version of EWTN with Swedish subtitles. So, which is rather intriguing given the fact that less than 2% of the population of Sweden has any religious affiliation whatsoever. So it's truly a missionary effort there.
Yeah.
And these are, of course, these are new initiatives in addition to all of the things we're already doing around the world.
And which we couldn't be doing if it wasn't for the support of the people here.
Absolutely, absolutely. These are all initiatives of EWTN, and without that support, none of these things, none of the shows, none of what we do would be possible. So we are certainly grateful to you for that. So we have some folks with questions.
And my question is, would you please explain the brothers so that we can better understand their position and if they all become priests or not or whatever? Could you please? Thank you.
So this is obviously for you guys. So, Father Mark, as the community servant, I think we'll let you answer this one.
No, we have brothers that might be in formation for the priesthood, or we might have permanent brothers, those who do not feel a call to the priesthood, and they can serve. And like we have Brother John Torres is helping out a lot. Well, he's a co-host on Life on the Rock, and he's doing a lot of interviews and things. So oftentimes the brothers, and there's no distinction between our dress. You can't tell the difference in the habit that we wear. But the brother oftentimes has because the priest is taken up with preaching and a lot of sacramental needs, spiritual direction. The brothers can oftentimes go deeper into sometimes the technical side of the apostolate, or even just, like I always say this, Brother John, when he does Life on the Rock, he can read the whole book that the guest has written, something I could never do before the show. So he's been a great addition to Life on the Rock. So, and they also, brothers too, help to keep the rhythm of the community too. They're very faithful to the prayer, praying the office, and very present to the community. That's real essential.
Very good. Hi.
Hi. I'm from DeBerry, Florida, and my question is for Father Joseph. Good to see you. My question is, do all seminaries teach the same as far as Catholic doctrines and teachings? For an example, one priest may say there's a hell, another priest may say there is no hell. Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, not all seminaries have been faithfully teaching. I think things have improved a lot since I went to seminary, although where I went, I think things were done very well. Where I studied at the time and where Father Mark and our friars studied, we had a wonderful education that we got at Mount St. Mary's Seminary there with great professors. But sadly, that hasn't always been the case. But I think things have improved, and we just have to continue to work toward improving them. But what I often say to people is that we do have a sure norm for the faith. In fact, the introduction to it actually states that by Pope St. John Paul II. The Catechism is a sure norm for the faith. So we know what the faith is. It's right there, 2,000 years compiled together for us of the faithful teaching to the church, and that's our reference. That should be our guidebook as far as understanding our faith.
And unfortunately, there is a hell.
Yes, there is a hell. There is a hell. Jesus spoke about that often, actually, so we need to take that seriously.
Right.
Hi, what's your question?
Hi, my name is Helena Dewey, and I'm from Castleberry, Florida, St. Peter, St. Paul. And my question is, the Baptist people have been pretty successful in getting their young people involved with the church. They've been very creative in establishing programs to attract them. And what can the Catholic Church do to draw more young people into the church? You know, like preteen and teenagers.
Sure.
You know, because sadly, they don't really feel in many times that they are really a part of the church.
Right. Well, I think that's right up Father Mark's alley.
Yeah. What we've been seeing more on Life on the Rock is it's almost like it is like a small group model. Like the mega churches will have small groups where everybody belongs to some small group, and we see that model in Catholic ministry now more and more, especially with young people. We just had Everett Fritz on, and he has these small groups, I think out in Denver, like at high school level and even junior high, and they meet once a week. It's a big commitment, and he said they're really responding. So I really think, yeah, just looking at the success of mega churches, that's a definite way to go in the Catholic Church, get some small groups. Young people especially, they need support, they want communion, they want one-on-one, and get like some adult leaders in there that can really spend some time to form them and everything. I think that's what we see as being successful.
Very good. Hello, welcome.
I'm Bob Miller from Mount Pleasant, Wisconsin, and I would like to know if you have any humorous stories about Mother Angelica.
Humorous stories. Oh,
Humorous stories.
how much time do we have? I guess One of the things you have to always say about Mother was that Mother was just had an amazing sense of humor, and sometimes she actually intended to be funny. But I'm sure, Father Joseph, you were in Mother years. You've got the seniority here.
Yes, of course, the first humorous thing that I remember was I went down to EWTN 1984, November I think it was, to interview for the engineering position. So I was being taken around the facility and the sister's print shop where they answered the mail. He was taking me through that, and there were two signs near the ceiling, and one said, "We don't know what we're doing, but we're getting good at it." And the other said, "Unless you're willing to do the ridiculous, God will not do the miraculous." But I think it was that trust in God, that simple faith, that we don't know the next step necessarily, but we're going to keep going forward, and we're going to trust God to get us there. And it was that joy, that simplicity, that humor that attracted so many to Mother Angelica and their spirituality.
Absolutely. And I recall one time we were beginning the launch of the international television network, so it really became sort of this second period of growth, explosive growth for EWTN in the mid-1990s, 1995. And of course, we didn't have the money to do anything that we needed to do, and so we were trying to push forward. And I remember Mother and I spending several hours in a meeting going over some things, and our practice was at the end of the day, in her meetings, I would always walk her back up to the monastery, to the door where she would go into the cloister. And so we left her office, and we were walking down this back hallway at the network, and you can look out over the antenna field, and you see everything. And she stopped for a minute, and she just started looking out, and she didn't say anything. And she turned to me and she said, "Let me ask you something. So when your wife wants something, and she keeps asking you about it, and asking you about it, and she keeps nagging you about it, and she said, do you usually give in and go along?" And I said, "Oh yeah, absolutely, Mother. That's one of the survival rules of marriage, right?" And she said, "That's exactly what I'm doing with the Lord about this project. I figure if I keep nagging him, he's going to give in." And so He did. The funding we needed came into place in a few weeks, and everything went forward, and EWTN's international side is what it is today, in large part because of that commitment. But in that sort of humorous way of expressing it, it was a profound lesson for me, because it helped me to really see and understand the deep and real, tangible, personal relationship that Mother felt to our Lord as his spouse. And as you look across the span of her life, you see that time and time again. And you see that in her willingness to, go all in to defend the doctrine of the Eucharist, to fight against leaders in the church at times, when she felt there was something that was an affront to her spouse. And it was a real lesson to me of that real personal relationship, because for her it was the same as I would defend my wife in a situation like that. So humor, but a profound lesson nonetheless, which was exactly Mother Angelica. So.
Thank you. Hello,
Hi.
I'm Judy Likens, and I'm from Jacksonville. I have a question about the broadcasting of the new stations that are open, like the countries you just mentioned. How is the broadcasting developed? Is it just a conversion of translation from what Birmingham broadcasts, or are there programs specifically designed for them? And who or how are they monitored to make sure that the broadcasting remains faithful to the church?
Right. So great question. It's a little bit of all of that, depending on the circumstance and the particular country or regions that we're working in. So there are certain international channels, 11 total channels that we transmit from Birmingham, Alabama. Those are our global networks. And those are in multiple languages, so English, German, Spanish. The regional networks, the smaller channels that exist to serve a much smaller population, like I mentioned, Poland or Hungary, we typically partner with people in a particular country, people that we've gotten to know over the course of some time. And those channels then are created as a combination of some programming directly from EWTN that is translated. So, for example, children's programming, animation, those sorts of things could be translated into Polish or Romanian or Hungarian. There is some level of local production. So, for example, in the EWTN Poland channel, their daily mass actually comes from the chapel at Nipikolanov, which was actually St. Maximilian Kolbe's community and the chapel where he lived and prayed. So it's a combination of some local, some global content that we provide. And then as far as monitoring, I think we are very, very careful about who we would work with around the world. And we do a lot of due diligence in the business term as far as who we're working with. And we maintain relationships, outside of the groups that we're working with. So there's a good flow of information. So if there's something of a question, and I'm not aware that we've actually ever had really anything that's come up, we would address that right away. In some cases, like Germany, for example, we actually have a review committee of people that we've determined from the United States are solid theologians and experts who help in the development of content. So we do a very good job, I think, of keeping an eye on that and making sure that at the end of the day, when we create these other channels, that they are faithful to the mission of EWTN, faithful to the advancement of truth. So.
Right, and we do it slowly, like you indicated.
Exactly.
Very slow process, making sure we vet and understand who we're working with over a substantial period of time.
Hi, what's your question?
Good afternoon. My name is Lou Simmons from the Kings Bay Naval Submarine Base in Kings Bay, Georgia. And my question is there a partnership between EWTN and the Armed Forces and the Archdiocese of the Military Services? There's such a shortage of Catholic priests, Catholic chaplains in the armed services, so that your programming offered in any type of media format to these deployed units may be most helpful to the sailors.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, we do supply programming to the Armed Forces Network, and we also have a relationship there. We also cover events for dealing with the military chaplaincy, masses, etc. We have special events that we do around Veterans Day and Memorial Day. We recently just did a wonderful documentary about an Irish chaplain from World War I, Father Willie Doyle, Bravery Under Fire, which talks about his work in World War I. And there's another one having to do with chaplains in Korea presently as part of a Korean project we just finished working on, frontline priests, basically what it's about. And we have some other programs that we've had and that we air and are totally supportive, and we certainly have had guests many times over the years on our live shows, chaplains, promoting the chaplaincy.
Yeah, we'd certainly love to be able to do more, and so we're always grateful for, first of all, for the service of our folks in the armed services, but happy to do what we can to serve.
Hello, good
Hi.
afternoon. My name is Eleanor. I'm from Altamont Springs. My question is, my husband and I actually teach catechism to 8th graders, and I just want to find out what would be the most interesting way or ways to teach history to these young minds.
Ah, interesting. I'm going to defer to the friars on that. So,
I think the docudramas, for me, I think that's just a powerful way to communicate truth. The docudramas, like what we are producing, things where you have both the historical content and then some acting of the actual events. I think that's really a profound way to reach young people. A lot of the videos and things, the media that we are utilizing, I think that's the young people's world today. So that's a way that we're trying to reach both children, younger people with Justin Fatica and Chris Stefanik and other things like that.
Chris Stefanik, Justin Fatica, when it comes to reaching young people. Short form programming, Cool to Be Catholic, things like that on the web, church pop, those are different aspects and avenues, different short form, long form, medium form, TED Talk, Catholic TED Talk kind of programs that we've done that focus on G.K. Chesterton that we run on the air. So a lot of it has to do with all different approaches that are there. A lot of times with young people, it's a question of on what device are they watching particular material on, and they may not be aware of it. Obviously, we've got 1 million plus on Facebook, so we're there as well, and we're on virtually every other platform. You're also available information through Alexa and other voice-actuated devices. All of those are places you can find EWTN if you're looking for it. But I think the big thing, like as far as the history of the church, is the ability of us producing, and I think that's where our goal has been, very slowly, economically, to produce higher and higher quality things, because people expect church products, they assume it's not going to be very well done or it's going to be very boring. Now, the truth isn't boring, but when you're trying to get young people to pay attention, you got to make it interesting. And I think like a Willie Doyle show or some other program like that, that shows true virtue happening and produced in a way that educates at the same time, I think is very helpful.
Very good. Hello.
Hi. My name is Catherine, and I'm a Florida local. I was born in Vero Beach. I'm a lifelong Catholic, and I love y'all's network. And I have a question. You guys have great content always, but like on a practical level, I volunteer at youth group and stuff, and the problem isn't the youth, right? The problem is like the people who work in the church, and I'm so sorry, but like when you get a lot of defeat over a lot of years of people not being interested, it's like there's a buildup of gunk on like the inside of a fish tank of just like discouragement and not wanting to try. And as a young person, I came out of Franciscan where like everyone wants to try. So going back into my local community, just as adults in the faith and Catholic leaders in the world, what would y'all suggest is the best way to give hope back to local parishes, like to people who really do care, but just have had a lot of setbacks?
Sure. I'd say at the outset, you're the best sign of hope to people in the local parish. You know, I think absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I think to be a witness, to be on fire, to have that energy and that zeal, that is infectious. And I think you start with that. I think you start with that as a leaven to what else can be done.
Well, even what you were talking about, I was thinking about with Mother and our Lord even talking about the woman who kept asking and asking. Sometimes it is just what you're going to do, which is continue to be faithful, continue to do what you know is right, and hopefully either you'll wear somebody down or somebody else will show up, or they'll finally say, enough of you, okay, what do you want to do? Go do that. Okay. Because I think sometimes the problem inside, you know, our church, and I see it with our friars as well, is that our poor priests many times are very overworked. Yeah. And they've got a lot of things and a lot of pressures and a lot of people who want them to do a lot of things simultaneously. We know that ourselves. There's no, as your famous line about drowning in a sea of opportunity. There's a million great ideas, which are great ideas. It's just somebody has to either put the time, the effort, or the money behind it, and that's what can become difficult.
I think, too, to work together. I mean, you might have someone that's a great starter, and then another guy who's really good with, you know, people and can work one-on-one. So don't try to be a lone ranger, but try to team up with people, because nobody has all the gifts. And then together, you know, you can make up for what each other lacks. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Go do it.
Welcome.
There
Thank
you go.
Lou Ann Planchin from Enterprise, Alabama.
Roll Tide. We have to, sorry.
Thank you.
Couldn't help myself.
We need
sorry.
that down here. Big fan of the network, and I love the way there's so many facets of the network that just educate us all as Catholics, and this has given us a real opportunity to learn more about our faith with so much of a wide variety of programming. I loved, and I've been to many of the family celebrations before, and I just wondered if this year you're going to have the competition for the commercials that the young people have had.
Oh, the Cool to Be Catholic.
Yes, or whatever.
Yeah, no,
great.
we're still doing it, but we didn't have it here at this time.
Okay,
we just vamped it up again, so maybe next.
Because they were really great. I'm just amazed at the creativity of some of the young people.
Absolutely.
And just really, I mean, I watched them over, and I even showed them on YouTube to some of my Protestant friends, actually. Really good. So I look forward to those again.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can always check out EWTN On Demand. We have over 20,000 Catholic videos totally for free and available anytime you want to watch them.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. My name is Frank Mashuda. I live in St. Augustine, Florida, originally from Arlington, Virginia. I noticed that you are starting EWTN Polska in Hungary, and given the cultural and intellectual conflicts of our era and our time, I was thinking perhaps we could use people like Cardinal Sin of Hong Kong, to establish an EWTN China, so we could beam into China the truth of the church. Sure. Similarly, Russia. We could sort of take it to them.
Sure, sure. Well, you know, actually, in some ways, we're already doing some of that. We have 5 years ago we launched EWTN Ukraine, which is a Ukrainian language version of EWTN. That channel actually has some Russian language content. Much of the population, of course, of Ukraine speaks Russian, but it also transmits into the surrounding area, into Russian territory and Russian-speaking areas. So we're hopeful that in the future, the Ukrainian project can expand into a Russian language version. It gets very complicated, as you can imagine, by all of the political and religious realities of Russian culture and politics, but that's certainly something we're interested in doing. As far as China, we do actually have a large number of listeners and viewers who are in China who consume our content via the online platforms. Huge numbers out of Hong Kong, certainly, obviously with the English-speaking reality there, but from mainland China as well. We have some other projects in the area. We recently completed a project with the Bishops' Conference of Vietnam, where we created a series of apps for all of the dioceses of Vietnam that actually have EWTN content in Vietnamese, translated content that's available. Some of that is intended then to expand out into China as well. So, you know, we'd certainly love to do more and you know, intend to do more as the years go forward. Thank you. Hi.
Hi. My name is Murray Belizer Val, fan of EWTN since 1992. I'm from Haiti, and since 8 years, I'm in Jacksonville. First, I have to thank you because I'm so happy I'm seeing you. Because in Haiti, even here, my TV is blocked, my room, on EWTN. Open it, EWTN. And I know all of you, Father Mark, I know. And my question is, how often do you have these family celebration events?
Mm-hmm. So we typically do one family celebration a year. We've been doing them, as I said this morning, for 13 years, although in the first year we did six in one year, and that nearly killed us all. And we said, you know, we love these, but maybe that was a little too much of a good thing, so we toned it down, and we've been doing them one a year. We do them maybe a year or 2 years on the road in a different city around the country. And then we try to go back to Birmingham and have them in Birmingham, Alabama. And actually, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we started to do a separate Canadian family celebration, similar to this one, a one-day event, smaller event, somewhere in Canada where we're distributed. So we look forward to continue to do many, many more of these in the future.
And to come back in Jacksonville again.
Yeah. Absolutely, we'd love to come back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Kathleen Miranda from Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm an ardent fan of EWTN.
Thank you.
I wonder if someone could speak to the new enlarged choir and the music program that is so fabulous.
Well, it just so happens that that's part of Father Joseph's responsibilities for the network. That's part of his day job at EWTN. Yeah.
It is. It's been a great joy the last couple of years. We've seen that we don't have a lot of music programs on EWTN. We have Michael Warsaw's wife has that program on Sundays where we get to see these in concert.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a way in which we can bring sacred music to everyone who benefits, because sacred music is something that has the purpose of glorifying God and lifting our minds and hearts to God. So we put a lot of energy and effort into it, and I think they're blending more and more, and it's really creating a wonderful repertoire. But hopefully it will have an influence too just in daily parish life. So one of the other things that we've added are the propers of the Mass. Now the propers are like the entrance antiphon. So one of the things that I asked production to do is put that entrance antiphon on the screen so the viewers also can participate in it. And typically, especially we'll be seeing in Advent, how that entrance antiphon just has the theme of awaiting the Lord and longing for the Lord. And it kind of captures the theme of that whole Mass. So it's a great way to enter into that Mass. And then we also have the entire responsorial psalm antiphon there too, so that you viewers can also participate more. Also, the Adoremus hymnal is something we often post those numbers on the screen when we use that, so viewers at home can also participate. So we wanted to do something that would enhance your ability to enjoy and participate in the Mass. And although, as Pope Pius XII said when television was coming out, that it's not something that would fulfill your Sunday obligation, he still said it's something that you can benefit from spiritually from these Masses that are televised or on the radio.
Right. Very good.
And the Adoremus Missal is available through the EWTN Religious Catalog.
Yes.
Shameless promotion there for Religious Catalog. But
My name's Rosemary from Castleberry, Florida, and Mother Angelica brought the Catholic faith alive in America. And you're carrying on her legacy beautifully. And I was wondering, has the cause for sainthood been started?
So So actually the church, the rules with regard to opening a cause of canonization require that you wait 5 years from the death of the individual. And so we're in that waiting period now. Mother Angelica has been gone now just over 2 years, heading towards 3 years. And so at the 5-year mark, we would anticipate working with the diocesan bishop in Birmingham, where the cause would have to be opened. And we anticipate moving forward at that point with opening a formal cause for Mother's canonization. So another couple of years yet. But please keep praying for that, and do keep that effort in your prayers. So.
I just want to thank you for being here. Keep up the good work. A business question. I'm praying that you have a succession plan in place and maybe interns to take over the wonderful work you're doing. And I pray to God that you stay here forever, but we know that's not possible.
Sure. No, I think there's absolutely a great team of people involved in EWTN. You know, most people don't realize that at this point in the United States, EWTN has about 400 employees in the U.S. We have another 150 or so outside of the U.S. We have a great team of people, really, you know, across the spectrum and across the age range. A lot of our team are younger people, and you know, I think there's a great group of folks that have committed themselves to the mission of EWTN, who are engaged and ready to carry on the work, I think, well into the future, beyond, you know, the lifetime of all of us here. So.
And really the same question came up, you know, about Mother when
Right.
she passed. Who's going to take over? Well, Mother had met with the vice presidents, and she would impart the vision to you all. And so you're carrying that on. And I think it's unusual in the media world for people to stay very long in one place.
It is, right.
But Mother imparted that vision to Michael, to Doug, to Colin, and Chris, and so many who were there. And they've carried that on. And similarly, I think our younger.
And I think it's a great
too.
thing to see too that you know, sometimes I have to remind myself when I'm talking to some of our younger employees and people engaged that they never had the opportunity to meet Mother, you know, and so I think it's important that you have to share. You know, we share those stories. We talk about Mother. We talk about Mother's vision, and it's exciting to see that even our younger people who are involved with the work of EWTN, who really understand the mission and who really embrace the mission, even though they never had the blessing of being able to know Mother Angelica personally. So I think the future of EWTN is certainly secure beyond any of us. So.
I was reminded when you were talking about what Mother said. I remember someone asking her in one of the meetings about Mother, you know, well, when you're gone, you know, who's going to fill in, who's going to take over, how's it going to work? And she basically said, if God wants it to go on, it will. If he doesn't, it won't.
Right.
And that's where it really comes down to.
Hi.
Hello. My name is Nata Charles, and I'm from Winter Haven, Florida. I want to thank you for all you do. And my question is for Father Joseph. This is about the rosary you did on Saturday at Twitterly to end the abortion. I'm wondering if you can have that rosary on CDs.
Is that Rosary for Life available?
Yes. Yeah,
it
right,
is.
right,
So
right.
you can go to Religious Catalog.
Yeah, I think it's available. If it's not, we can't make it available.
Yes.
So we have
Certainly
it on
online,
video,
yeah.
but not on CDs. I would like
No?
to have it on CDs
Oh, on
now.
audio CD as opposed to
CDs.
DVD.
Oh, okay.
You want the audio?
Yes.
Well, we got to get that done.
Yeah, we can get it done.
I've been
We'll make
asking
you a
that
personal
since
copy if we don't
2015.
have it.
I
That's
went
not
to
a problem.
Alabama in 2015, and I made a request with somebody named Pat, and she said, I'm going to bring that to Father Joseph, and I never heard from her.
Okay.
So it's totally Father Joseph's
now we
fault
find
now.
out
but
what
now
the
that's
problem
it. Yeah.
is.
Yeah, there we go.
We knew there was some sort of holdup in the organization. Now it's come to light.
But we've done all 4 sets of the mysteries with different pro-life meditations. So, yeah, we need to get
Well,
that
as long as
out
Father
there.
agrees to cut his royalty fees on it, we can. We'll see what we can do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking. We'll try to get that done.
Hi, welcome.
Hello, my name is Ben Franzuela. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida. In the past, there was a couple of Sundays that I was sick, so I turned on the TV, EWTN, and watched on Sunday, watch the Mass. Is that counted as attending a physical Mass on church?
Yeah, I think Father Joseph can respond to that.
Yes, so again, if you have a just reason for being absent at the Mass, then you're not obligated under pain of sin, not going to Mass. If you're ill, if you have to take care of a loved one because they're ill or they have special needs, then you have a just reason for not being there for the Sunday Mass. But if you're able to attend the Mass, then you need to actually attend a Mass on Sunday. The televised Mass is there, and you can benefit from it. There's spiritual benefits, as I mentioned earlier, that you can receive by hearing the scriptures, by participating or listening to the homily, making a spiritual communion, which is why we always have the spiritual communion prayer, and so on. You can benefit, and yet it doesn't fulfill your Sunday obligation.
Good. Thank you so much, and I think we've unfortunately run out of time here, but I want to tell you just how much of a joy it always is for us to do this segment at every family celebration, and it's always sort of interesting what the questions are and what people are interested in asking about. But I encourage you to continue to learn more about EWTN, continue to learn more about all the things we do, and as you heard earlier in the Media Missionaries piece, share that with others. Share the joy and the blessing that EWTN has been to you and your families with others so that they can benefit as well. God bless you and thank you for all you do for EWTN. All right.